Oh my Lord, I was loving that music.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our discussion about the Nag Hammadi scriptures. And welcome, Minnassa.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's your show, too.
Well, I was telling my daughter, she was wanting to talk to me. I said, oh, I'm going to be on a show. She's like, who? Kdmoonchild? I said, yes, ma'am.
I love that Lily girl. How's she doing?
She is doing well. She's doing well.
Good. She back in the States?
She's in the States. She's just waiting. She got to see the orthopedic, get her physical therapy, and she's hoping to go back in March.
Yay! Yes. But in the meantime, we get to enjoy her lovely being at home.
Indeed. 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 It's all good.
Yeah. So I understand her disappointment too. So.
Yeah.
Hey, beautiful. Good to see you, Dolly. We love you. And looks like we got 2 people in live so far. So I'm just kind of waiting for the notifications to go out.
Oh yeah, and I have my phone here, but I don't think I have it on the channel where I will see it. And Dolly, I'm gonna text you. Katie told me some stuff. So I'll be texting you.
I know she won't mind me telling you to.
Oh, of course.
No, that's what us sisters do.
Indeed.
We watch out for each other.
Very true.
So, yeah. You know, I happen to... Hey, PD. Good to see you, PD Connects.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I happen to also think, this is a lot of people watching some election results tonight.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Atlanta, Georgia. Or Georgia.
We got to find out if we're going to have a fool in the Senate or not.
I don't understand.
Anyhow,
I mean, I do understand because the Republicans want a Black man that they can control, that doesn't know his identity, that has no self understanding or self-love. So he'll just do whatever they tell him. And so I do understand that. It's just like, why?
Sad.
Why would you want someone like that? You need someone who can go and fight for you.
Yeah. Oh, and what's really interesting, but that's the thing, though, there are plenty of conservative Black people.
True.
That are very intelligent. That's the
Indeed.
issue. The issue, you cannot control an intelligent person.
Indeed. I mean, they're like the senators we have from this state are just 2 big dummies. And I don't mean that in any kind of hateful way. I just mean it as a straight description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, almost like Herschel Walker, when you try to communicate with them, it's like, are you on this planet?
Did you go wet, huh?
Yeah.
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 Hey, I'm in Arizona. Need I say more? We had 4 great ones that all got kicked out. We didn't want them. But one of them is still trying to fight. But that's just because she wants to be somebody's vice presidential running mate.
That's true that you're a lady who wants to be the governor.
Yeah, Carrie Lake. Katie Hobbs was involved in all that the audit in Maricopa County. And so she's currently our state, not attorney general, but yeah. Anyway, she's the person who certifies the votes.
Okay.
And yeah, she's life-threatened and all that stuff. So when I thought, whoa, when she's running for governor, she's one brave lady. She survived all that and said, really nice, not flashy, I got a brain in her head. Not a newscaster, because Carrie Lake started out as a newscaster in Phoenix. So
I see.
Gotta be that cult of celebrity. Anyhow, here we are. Let's talk about the Nag Hammadi. And tonight, we're going to talk about my favorite, the Gospel of Thomas.
All right, so let me start out by just giving the general information. We talked, so the first show we talked about the religious texts that are similar to the Nag Hammadi. And I just want to make clear that we didn't talk about the Quran, even though the Quran is the third Western religion, because Judaism and Christianity, which involves with putting in Catholicism, the text from the Nag Hammadi are closer to those texts. They're not about the text of the Quran at all. So that's why I did not mention that, but
Oh,
not to be disrespectful to that text. That these books are in relation to the Gospels and the narratives of Christianity or Jesus, and like Thomas would be one of the disciples. So that's why that text wasn't mentioned. So, what is the Nag Hammadi Codex? So they were 13 leather bound books that were found. So they call them codexes, and there's 52 treatises, or I think their official word is tractates or something like that. And
yeah.
it's a treatise. It's a written work, deliberately, formally, and systematic put together. So these aren't just someone's, I was having these thoughts. There's a very systematic and determined formal way that these are put together. And so
Yes.
you would think that there's 52 of the treatises and there's 13 of the codices, that they just put 4 per, but that's not how they were, because some are repeats,
Yeah.
things like that. And so I want to see if I have any other little notes to myself. So we're talking about the Nag Hammadi index that was found in the city of Nag Hammadi, but there are some other set of these same texts that were found in other places. And of course, even this text, if you read from the introduction, KD will show you the book, that people are haggling over the ownership of it, and
Yes.
it's per here, kept here. And these are like precious documents. So who knows what was lost? These were handled much, much better. There was one that was found that's called the Codex Chacos, that actually contained 2 books that weren't in the other ones, and that is the Book of Allergen and the Gospel of Judas. And so, but because it
Mhm.
was so poorly handled by treasure hunters and people who were trying to make a dime off of it, um, much of it was lost. So they've done the best that they could. And many of the other forms of this Gnostic gospel were found in Egypt, and in Coptic language. So most of these books have something to do with the Gospels, or
Mhm.
reflection on Jesus, or those types of gnosis, understanding and knowing God. This one happens to have 3 works from the Corpus Hermetica, and then, very interesting, a partial translation of Plato's Republic. And Plato's Republic was written in 375 BCE. So very interesting that they would include that, because again, Katie's going to talk to you about prayer, and she just blew my mind with this connection she makes with language and computer. But again, these were systematic
Yeah.
ways to live your life, how to bring this forward. And so it makes sense that Plato, talking about how government works, how people work, Plato was basically talking about a theocracy. So an agnostic understanding that your
Mhm.
spirituality plays a big part in that, and that's how you're going to govern from that place. I thought it was very interesting that it would have that if you take political science or introduction to political science, you're going to read The Republic by Plato. If you're going to take introduction to philosophy, you're going to read the Republic by Plato. So I thought it was very interesting to me, as the political science nerd, that book would be in here, or a partial translation, with all these very sacred texts.
Yeah.
The thing I want to close with, so part of the question is who wrote these? Who are the people that wrote them? Okay, so here's the answer. Who wrote the Bible? Right? We don't even know who wrote that book. There's
Yeah.
nothing in the Bible. Like if you get the Hebrew text or even the Greek text of the book of Matthew, it doesn't begin with, this is written by Matthew, who was a tax collector, who Jesus, okay, it's not in there. Only Paul says that in his books. I, Paul, the apostle, and that's because he's trying to elevate himself with the other apostles, because they shot him down.
Yeah.
Right? But even I can write a book saying, I, Paul, the apostle, blah, blah, blah. So even the books of the Bible It's all on faith. You have to believe what they told you. You know, and for the Tanakh or the Old Testament, basically the Jewish belief is that the first 5 books of Torah, that's what that's what Moses brought from the mountain. You know, I saw a thing that said the Torah is the first book downloaded from a cloud, right? And that the rest of the books are kind of up for grabs.
Yeah.
Where Christianity also holds those other books very sacred. In many Jewish communities, they're like, you know, that they're stories, they're narratives, they're telling you something about God or something about how to live your life. But God's real word are those first 5 books. But again, who was Moses? You know, I saw a woman who said one time she freaked out. She was studying with a rabbi, and he said, you know, Moses is like King David. It's like Arthur. It's like a story, an archetype. And she was like, so all of these are ways that Spirit wants to talk to us. So just like, you know, well, you can't prove who wrote this. You can't prove who wrote the other sacred texts as well. So you take it on faith, and what resonates with you, you keep.
Yeah.
And what doesn't, you release it back.
Exactly. And, you know, so much of the teachings of the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus talks about love. And I mean, he's talking so openly about it. That's his number one message. People are all about, no, it's accept me, and it's this, and you got to live that way, and you got to believe this scripture this way, and you got to, all he asked was that you love everyone. Love one another as I have loved you. And he totally, completely loved everyone. Didn't matter whether you were a leper. He would help you. He didn't say, wait a minute, you know, I need 5 pence first. Then I can do a healing on you. He walked up to the man and said, look at yourself. Close your eyes. Touched him, and he was healed. We can do that with ourselves. And it talks about how to do that in here. Manifestation is the number one teaching in the Gospel of Thomas. This, to me, is why it is not a part of our current today Holy Bible. Because it teaches us that we can do it. We don't have to do it through a Pharisee or a theologian of any kind. You can create and are creating your world. You're creating your life, and you are the one in control of it. This is the part that you can't be a sheep and be in control too. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this is why it was not included. I truly believe that. It teaches so much power. You hear, I forget where it is in the Bible where, you know, Jesus, mountain, get out of my way, basically, you know. Ask and ye shall receive. But they leave out the whole part about how to ask. And that is really, really important. We go, if you're raised in Christian church, you go and you, dear Lord, help, you know, and you start your prayer.
It's begging and pleading and, you know, arbitrating and bartering. Hoping.
Yes. Do this for me. Oh, I need that. Oh, I want that. Oh, please, tomorrow, bye. And we put time limits on it. And then we give it away. We say amen, which means all done. I'm finished.
And then we take it back.
And then as soon as you're done, you're going, gee, I hope that prayer works. And you just took it all back. That's like saying, I apologize, but don't work that way. And it's like you were talking about how I told you about, it's very similar to how a computer program works. I used to be a computer programmer. Prayer is very, very much a language. how to manifest is through prayer. And it is not spoken prayer, and it is not thought prayer. It is prayer directly from your heart. Your heart has memory exactly like your brain does. That is something that is scientifically proven. That's why certain people, when you hear they've had a heart transplant, and all of a sudden they crave a food that they'd never liked before, it's because it was in the heart's memory of that person of before. So it's a part of honoring that person before, in a way I look at it. So what you're doing is you're not starting out by making sure that you've got the proper pose and the proper words and all that. What you do in a computer program, it always starts out by you're declaring what you want the computer to do. So you want the computer to give you a sum. We'll use mathematics as an example. You want a computer to give you a sum. Okay, the foundation of the actual program is the process the computer is going to do to produce the closure, which is the result. So that's your actual equation. 2 plus 2 is 4. So 2 plus 2 is the body, it's the function. 4 is the result. Prayer works the same way. State your intent, be concise. Don't be redundant. You don't need to say, for instance, you're asking for healing from someone. I ask you to heal someone who yesterday on such and such a date was diagnosed with so and so, and they're given such and such stage. And you know what I'm saying? You don't need to give that. Universe knows all that. Universe is right there involved in all of that. All you got to do is say, I'm asking for a prayer of healing for so and so. And then you go into, what does that mean? Closing your eyes physically, spiritually, and mentally. What is the details of that? You see that person happy and healthy and full of joy, not sick, not frail and falling apart. And if there's a tumor involved or whatever that sickness is inside, you visually see it shrinking. And you feel how they feel better until it is gone. And that is your result. The result, as you finish the prayer, you say, I seal this prayer in trust, faith, and truth. And yeah, that you can say it that way, or you can say it in I guess it's Arabic. Alam, Amin, Amen.
That's where I and my prayers would end. So it is, because again, you are declaring that it's ready to go forward.
That I always do too, or Ashe.
Ashe, indeed. And
Yeah.
that, while you were talking about his book, is very interesting. I think PD Connects talked about reading the Bible again, and that was part of the conversation we had in the first one. That read it this time with an open heart and open eyes.
Oh, and I have a perfect example of that from this. It's not the Bible, but it's from this gospel. And it's the very last entry. It's number 114. The Gospel of Thomas is a collection from the scribe Jude Thomas. And it's just quotes, different quotes from Jesus. There's no pretext, no setup, backstory, nothing. It's quotes from Jesus. You are left to interpret them. It's intended to be that way. So in the very last one, good old Peter, Simon Peter said to them, Mary, and he's talking about Mary Magdalene, which was she was too close to Jesus. He didn't like it. She was the benefactor. Historically, she was the wealthy person with the money. And as some believe, Jesus's wife. She had a lot to say in the movement. Peter didn't like that. So Mary should leave us, for females are not worthy of life. He's saying females are lower life. She shouldn't be here. Jesus said, He says, look, I shall guide her to make her male, to that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every female who makes herself male will enter heaven's kingdom. And I'm looking at that as though he is saying right then and there, it doesn't matter your body, it is your spirit that is worthy. It doesn't matter your gender, for spirit knows no gender.
And I think it's very interesting also that concept that, okay, if you don't like her as a woman, I just make her a man.
Yeah.
Right? Like if that's your problem, but obviously it's something bigger than that.
Exactly.
And I just think it's very interesting that even from the traditional text, when the woman with the issue of blood is crawling around on the ground, or however she got to Master Teacher Jesus and touches his robe and she gets healed, there were people touching him all around. Yeah. But they did not get that same healing because, again, it's about your intent.
Exactly.
So that your belief, it's done unto you as you believe.
Exactly.
And so, Peter also got in trouble in the Gospels because him, and I think it was maybe James or one of the other ones are like, hey, Jesus, when you come into your kingdom, let us sit on your right and left. And he's like, y'all don't get it. So that's not how it works. So I still, this story shows that still kind of power play.
I was going to say, and that is just everything that has continued ever since. Just this power play of the masculine energy. It is the divine masculine that is got to be the warrior, got to be in charge, got to be in charge, got to be in control. And yeah, that's why I really feel really, really strongly the divine feminine is just, she's strong. And I feel her closer and since Thanksgiving, I heard a click in I don't know if it was something, I heard it in the middle of the night, it woke me up. So chances are it was in a dream, but the energy changed. The sky changed. I had a star in particular I used to watch every morning at 3 a.m. It was in a different part of the sky. We moved in, I swear, with the new moon, we definitely moved into that new part of our galaxy moved. It's interesting. It's really fascinating. And over the week, I've been really, really quiet lately because I've been getting so many downloads. It's hard to process it all. But the main thing that I get, even from this tonight and everything, the most important thing when you're praying, don't have an attachment to the outcome. Let it go. Once you pray it, let it go. Or did the poles shift? No. We would physically know that. If you'd feel like you're falling off the earth, I think you would know the poles did their.
And one of the things that is very true is we're on this ascension, you're talking about the rise of divine feminine, that what I feel what Peter was exhibiting is not a divine masculine, but a finite masculine.
Yes.
Because the divine masculine understands that whole thing, Shiva Shakti, that there is that combination of the two. And so this divine feminine rising really began its manifestation at the Me Too movement. And it swept through the US. Some of the most powerful men just brought down. And
Yeah.
then one of the things that I am loving and trying to find non-American sources is to watch. One of the things is to watch how the women in Iran and now the whole country is like, this is some bullshit. We need to get rid of this. I said, just like our country had to finally begin to
Yeah.
say, listen, there's some bigoted, people want to throw the word racist around, but there's really bigoted and prejudiced behavior in places that it shouldn't be. And I feel the sacrifice of George Floyd, really, it was a murder, yes, but that his sacrifice of his life brought that public, and that young
Yes.
woman who was murdered by the morality police, which is just a bullshit name anyway,
Yeah.
murdered by them because she wasn't wearing her hijab correctly.
Hajib correctly. Her
But
hair
now
showed.
and
Her
people, and
hair.
that's the divine feminine saying no, no more. And that's so, to see Iranian men who don't have long hair, but doing this, saying, I'm cutting my hair, I'm standing, the Iranian men's soccer team wouldn't sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
But it's that divine feminine that we nurture and give life to that rebellion. And oftentimes the finite male likes to follow the rules.
I have noticed something. I noticed this, gosh, back in 2016, 2017. There was a period of time when the majority of our money all had a goddess on it. Lady Liberty. Allah. When did it switch to become dead presidents? That's why I want Mama Harriet on there. And I will explain to you all why I call Harriet Tubman Mama Harriet. I used to belong to a ladies' organization, and she was our patron saint. We studied her attributes, her strength. What a woman. We had one of our members channeled her. I mean, it was like, so yeah, I call her Mama Harriet because, God, I wish I could have known her. She said she personally walked 374 slaves to freedom. And her own husband wouldn't go with her because he was afraid. He was afraid of freedom.
Yes, and I will tell you, I want to stay on track with what you're talking about. So yes. I've seen this before in the chat where people talk about that Jesus was a rabbi and that rabbis were always married. But remember, women died young, so you could have been a rabbi and been a widower.
True.
And some rabbis were celibate. That's where they kind of get that idea from for the priest or the Pope, the Catholic priest. But I do believe that him and Mary were married. But think about it. You're talking about, when did this idea come into our culture? When did we start thinking like, oh yeah, Jesus had a wife? I wanted to look it up.
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code, 2003. Yes. 2003. And actually,
Dan Brown
got sued. If you ever go to the early issues or the early episodes of, it's on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens.
Yes.
Because they talk about it on there, that there was a man, two men who had studied, it's called I'll have to try to look it up, who had already discovered this and had put the information out about the divine line of Master Teacher Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Let me try. And it was called let's see, I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, they had written, it's a documentary that they had done. And so they said that Dan Brown stole their idea. And he's like, well, you weren't the only ones who discovered this. But this concept from 2003, before that, I never thought about Jesus being married or that Mary Magdalene was something else. But when the divine feminine rises, Just boom. That
Yeah.
idea out there, and all of a sudden, we're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and I've seen like professors and rabbis, those kind of rabbis talking that it's highly possible, and yeah, probably was. And I'm going, wait a minute, wait a minute. When I was a little girl, that was something that was like, that was blasphemy to even think something like that.
I mean, like people say, most men get married. This doesn't sound
Hey,
very kind,
Stoney.
but most men aren't good as single people.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So
no.
why would he not do the thing that everyone else in his culture did?
Well, yeah,
Especially
and he was
when you
in his
died before,
30s.
usually when you were like 40 or 45.
Exactly. Yeah, he wasn't like a young man of 18 just starting, "Hey, I got an idea. You want to hear about it?" He'd been working at this a while. So, yeah. Hi, Stony. Rose
The
Blue
book was
says, I
called,
asked,
this
Rose
is a
Blue
book
says,
from 1982. It's called The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. So this
yeah,
is a nonfiction book called The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. The book deals with the theory that Jesus married Mary Magdalene and had a child, and that
and
the
that's the Holy
bloodline
Grail.
continues. So this is
And
from 1982. So already the seeds of that information are being dropped. Now, these, I mean,
I
this is
love it.
very fascinating that it's like a secret that wasn't a secret.
Yeah,
It's like a secret to us. And so again, he goes, why would Peter care, right?
yeah,
Unless something was up.
yeah. Hey, if you want her to be a woman or you want her to be a man, I'll make her a man.
Correct, correct.
She's a man,
Like,
okay. Can
but
she be
yes,
with us
it's
now?
very interesting. The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail. You can even Google it. It's very interesting how they, for the history nerd like me.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank
Dolly.
you,
How they
darling.
do that. It is like amazing. Rose Blue talks about it that, yeah, this is like, again, what information is being withheld from us and why? Why
Yeah,
does Jesus have to be somehow not
that's
sexual?
that is something else that it also says in the truth will. That's why you have to believe with faith. When you pray, you believe with faith. Truth is the last thing there because it's coming. It is always coming out. No matter how you lie, no matter how you try to cover it up, it will expose you. It will come out.
So you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Not that truth will
Yes.
set you free, because there's truth. Until you went to school, 2 + 2 was 4, but you weren't free until that truth was known by you, right? So the
Yeah.
truth is floating all around. So it's coming into that understanding. And that's what I like about the Gospel of Thomas that you shared about talking about the power of love. That is almost antithetical to capitalism.
Yes. I actually look at it as I myself personally, I definitely am not a capitalist.
Yeah, because
Definitely am not.
love as the equation. Now, love doesn't mean you're a doormat and you let people do
No.
whatevs, because you have to also love yourself.
Right.
But
You
that,
have to love yourself first because if you are not loving of yourself first, you aren't capable of loving others.
correct,
There's
correct.
not enough of you to love
That
someone.
power of love. And then you talked about the power, you're saying that Thomas talked about the power of manifestation. One of the things that Gail and I are, I've been trying to find the words to put it together because I want to talk the people that join me in the morning. And it's like the people here in the South, or here where I'm at in Mississippi, really, they are very ignorant. And I know that sounds horrible, like I'm being a snobby Californian, but I mean ignorant. Their consciousness is closed down. They have no,
Yes. It
like Katie, you take supplements, you do things for your health. I do things for my health. But in their mind, it's like, well, God will make a way. So yeah, God made a way. Go to Amazon and look up supplements, right? Or go to your
yes.
doctor or eat something different. One of the things I loved about being away from Memphis, we went to Chattanooga, because that's how they say it, not Chattanooga, Chattanooga. And I said, I didn't see one sign for fried chicken and barbecue, right? Because again, if you're just eating stuff, that consciousness and that love isn't just a feeling, it's a consciousness. And when you operate in that consciousness, you do the things that master teacher Jesus did. That's why
Yes.
he said, you'll do greater than me.
Yes.
Because we have all of us holding that consciousness.
Exactly.
But
You know,
that fear consciousness and almost, you know, I'll call it, I don't know if maybe y'all can help me. I don't know if ignorance the right word or asleep is more accurate. That they're not awake. They are
they
almost
are walking in a,
unconscious.
yeah, they're unconscious. They're in a fog. They're very much in a fog. Um, I have that here too.
And so yes, the power of
Especially in the
love.
rural parts of
Yes.
Arizona.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, it's the education. It's a level of education, a lot of it.
Very true. Very true.
Because once you start becoming educated, you start asking why a lot. And once you start learning how to ask why, there goes
Very true.
control.
Very true. And then when you feel empowered, you know, Thomas talks about here, this is how
Mhm.
you manifest. You have to understand that you are a powerful entity, and that's a certain
Yes.
amount of consciousness.
You are unlimited. Don't doubt that. Because let me tell you how we talk about higher self all the time. Connect to your higher self. Go inside, talk to your higher self. How can your higher self be out here and in here? Talks about it right there in the Gospel of Thomas. It says you have everything within you and outside you. Everything you need. You are all powerful. You are your creator. And when I first heard that concept that in the Hall of Souls or in wherever we decide where we decide a contract to come here and be born now. I got it given to me loud and clear this weekend why we all signed this contract. Those of us who have our channels right now doing what we're doing spiritually here. You know, most of us as parents and grandparents, they were all involved in the Great Depression and world wars. And we all looked up to them and what they had to tell us about those times. Hello, guess who we are for the future? And as the future progresses, we have no idea. Myself personally, I'm in my 60s. I'm thinking, well, I'll be doing great to be alive to be 100. You don't know. By the time we get to the point in the next 30, 40 years, what's going to be happening medically? There are so many new changes. Everything is new. Everything coming is new. And I heard it and I felt it. That new moon around Thanksgiving.
Mm, mm. Well, I think one of the things, that whole concept of being self-empowered in your creator, when I left the church and was looking to what was my spirituality, I picked up a book by Abraham Hicks, which is Ask and It Shall Be Given to You. So I was reading it and it says, you are the creator of your life. And basically, if your life's messed up, you created that. And I just closed the book and I thought, this is some bullshit. But just be honest, okay? I mean, for entertainment purposes only, excuse the language. I'm just going to be myself. You can mute me later.
No, they
One
know,
of the
all of
things,
them. Everybody here knows that language comes out of my mouth often.
it's true. So one of the things I realized was the joy of that statement was that if I was the cause of my messed up life, I could be the cause of a joyful life, of a successful life, of a prosperous life. And so I picked the book up again. And I think one of the things someone was saying, I maybe I'll read the Bible now again, is to read the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, chapter
Yes.
5-8. Read that. Listen to the words of Jesus, radical. You can love it. It's easy to love people that you love who love you back. How about loving people that don't love you? You
Yeah.
know, talking about loving your enemies. This is some radical, crazy stuff that people don't like to talk about. But
Yeah.
again, that's the power of love. And that when you love your enemies, you are transforming them, and they're not going to be your enemy for much longer.
And you know what else? You're big time transforming you.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Because the more you openly love, the more open you become to love. It comes back way more than you send out.
Indeed, indeed,
Way more.
indeed. I
Yeah.
think Rose putting down here, what did we learn in school? Things that I needed to know I did not learn, like how to open a checking account, how to run a household, how do I do with my finances, how do you communicate in a relationship? They don't teach us those things because
They teach
all
you.
those things are empowering tools.
Right. And they teach you things home ec. I was taught, well, they don't have that now, but
I
I had
know they should still. People need to know what
home
they're
ec
getting to.
class, but even in home ec class, they didn't teach you how to balance a dang checkbook
Correct.
or
Correct.
how to make a decision. I had a modern problems class that was an elective that I decided to take, and they taught us how to play around in the stock market and that kind of stuff. Modern problems. The stock market's a problem. Yeah, when you lose everything, it sure is. And we'd
Yeah.
take real stocks and, have a certain amount of money. We didn't, not real money, but that's
Correct.
how
You
we
do
got
your
our
investment, you
grade,
follow it.
was whether we produced, whether we got money in the stock market or not.
Indeed. Indeed.
It's kind of
And
different.
so that concept coming from Master Teacher Jesus and from what you're saying that's in the Gospel of Thomas about being self-empowered,
Yes.
right? And that when, such an important concept that if I'm self-empowered, then I don't need to have power over you.
Right.
But I can collaborate and have power with you.
If you're self-empowered, you don't have time to want to hoard power over somebody else. Because you're busy working on you.
Indeed, indeed. And I do think one of the things you talked about before about us being here for the future is really to raise the light. A friend of mine posted a
Yes.
video, was so upsetting. I couldn't watch the whole thing about this minister basically saying, I hate gay people. And
Yeah.
that's not being, I know that's sounding hateful, but you're not doing it. And I just thought, how can you stand in a pulpit and say this? I couldn't watch it. It was so horrible. But I thought, see,
Yeah.
fear. Churches are full of fear. They took a book or the message of a simple man who talked
Yes.
about love and they wrapped it up in a whole bunch of other junk. One of the things my seminary professor told me, people hardly ever preach from the Sermon on the Mount, again, because it's radical. It's about love. Even Jesus saying, when he used an example of a person who was good, he then used a Samaritan. That's someone the Jews hate. That would be like a Ku Klux Klan grand dragon giving an example and then letting a black person be the example of the goodness. I mean, that's what,
Exactly.
again.
Yeah.
And so here is this amazing human who is able to connect with his oneness. And then again, you see in the Gospel of Thomas, yes, let's not put that book in the canonical Bible because we're trying to cover up what this,
Yeah.
Yes, why did those books not make it and all the books of Paul make it? They're talking about doing things in fear
All
and
his letters.
controlling.
The
Very
letters of
interesting.
Paul. The letters of Paul. And why is it? I was
And
raised in the
Paul,
Baptist church.
there
I
are
was raised in the Baptist church, and Paul is number one. I mean, they talk about,
that's right,
the
number
letters
one
of
over
Paul is
Jesus.
everywhere. And it's like, no, we're here to talk about God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, not the disciples.
Correct.
They were fools like the rest of us.
Didn't get it. Didn't get it.
They
I mean,
went,
even at the
"Woo!"
resurrection, when Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus, says, hey, that Jesus is not there and some angels told us something. What did they say? Oh, you women don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
It's like, okay.
And we still have that happening today.
But I will say, I do one of the things I think is that the Holy Spirit has a way of sneaking things in. So here's Paul in the midst of all these things in Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 13 is probably one of the most beautiful chapters in the New Testament. And there's a song about it. I heard a jazz song. I'm like, so I told Gail, I'm like, this is 1 Corinthians 13. If I have everything in the whole wide world but have not love, I have nothing. If I give myself as a sacrifice, but I don't do it from a place of love, it doesn't mean anything. And then 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, love is patient, love is kind, love is not puffed up, love does not celebrate when someone falls down, but it celebrates when they rise. I mean, it's like boom, in the midst of all that, of all the other stuff about him. You don't hear many sermons from that either.
No, not anymore. There's a time for every season. The Beatitudes.
Correct.
All we hear about is that red-headed Jesus with his AK.
One of the things that's very challenging here is that Church of God in Christ, which is a denomination of the black yes. Pentecostal, because of course white Pentecostals and them don't hang out together, which is already a problem. It's like how
which doesn't make any sense.
But anyways, the Church of God in Christ does not allow women to be ordained because Paul said, I don't allow a woman to have authority over man. But he was answering a question. He wasn't saying that in general. But again, here are these black men, my own brothers, so fearful and desperate. Now, I get it. So much has been robbed of them from this society. But instead of emulating it, do the opposite.
Yes.
But they don't do that. Now, my own denomination that I'm ordained from, the AME, they do ordain women. They did eventually, but there's a woman who was told the very first bishop, so, well, women can't preach. She's like, here, I'm leaving my kid with you because I'm going to go preach. And then she left her kid and went preach.
Good for her.
But yes, the power of love. Yes, white Methodists and black Methodists, white Pentecostals and black Pentecostals, white Baptists and black Baptists. It's like, why is that? Why is 11 a.m. in the United States the most segregated hour in this country? Because we love Jesus, but we can't sit together and talk about it.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And again, here's this man, Jesus, who is interacting. What was the accusation against him? He's hanging around with prostitutes and all the bad people.
And you'll have the extremes are criticizing the extremes, because you'll have the snake handlers who will not sit in a black church because they speak in tongues. You ever been you ever watch snake handlers? I don't know what you call it if that ain't a tongue they're speaking.
It's very great.
Obvious. I grew up a Southern Baptist, for those of you who don't know. So I also was a member of the United Methodist Church, and I will have to say, the United Methodist Church is the most open-minded Christian church I've ever been to, because with the summer, our pastor would go and do mission work in the summer. While he was gone, we would have visiting religions come. Baha'i, the Native American faiths. Wow. I loved summer at church because I got to find out more, because I've always
believe that.
Since I was 4, I've always been going, there's got to be more. There's a big hole in this. There's got to be more. They're not telling us everything. Sunday school never made any sense to me. Never did.
And, it's very true that the United Methodist Church, is splitting. Yes. Because the United Methodist Church, the United Methodists are going to keep that name because they want to be affirming of the LGBTQ community. And the other part, I can't remember what they're changing their name to, does not. But again, is this what the church is supposed to be Wesleyan over?
Yeah, they're more Wesleyan. They're more all about the method. They started out, it was a method to spread the word.
Correct. John Wesley had a method.
Yep.
But again, so here we bring it back full circle to the Gospel of Thomas. Someone who you said, I love that you said, talked about love.
Yes.
And gave a way to manifest, a way to live your best life.
Hi, Geek Hillbilly. Good to see you. Speaking on tongues, yeah.
Now, I will say that I believe in many people nowadays what they do is they call it light language.
The more
But
Christian than my
you
picture
know, that's
is.
what speaking in tongues is. It's using your angelic or spiritual language.
That's
Now, for
right.
everybody to be speaking it, okay, you know, there has to be, but yeah, there is a gift with that. But yeah, in those churches
And you
and other
have to be
people,
careful with it as
you
well,
do.
because if you
You
don't
do.
know what you're doing and you don't practice protection of the angels and things around you, that's not necessarily who's talking through you is a good thing. You have to be
Correct. You have to
careful with tongues.
correct, and you have to understand. You know, like sometimes when I'm doing a healing, I will call on that light language because I needed to supersede or
Yes.
exceed my English capacity to speak or use the healing. You know.
Right. Yeah. There's many times when I'll come off of a live stream, and I've been like my Wednesday live stream where I read cards, and I'll have to go back and watch because I don't remember what I said. Completely have no idea because it wasn't me talking. That's why.
But
And
was it
I'm not
you
saying
talking to
I'm
you?
channeling like Abraham Hicks or anything, but it's
It's
the
the you. It's
Katie
your higher
physical,
self speaking through you.
right? And the Katie physical Katie has stepped aside so
Correct.
that my higher self and spirit can come through
That's
and
true.
talk.
So that is you.
Yep. Yep.
Indeed. And yeah, so what is someone was saying that's sometimes there's conflicts, you know, that as we're growing, you got to, you know, sometimes you got to be willing to not know. Okay, well,
Yes.
I need to know for sure about this spirituality stuff. Okay, you're not going to.
Right.
See, that's the thing
Um,
about most Christians. They think they really know, but they don't.
no, absolutely not.
So
There's
sometimes
no
being
absolutes. There's
correct, being
really,
open, being
really
open.
actually true. There's really, truly only two absolutes in our life. Everything changes and truth will always come out.
Which is
That's
very
it.
true.
Everything else is
Very
everywhere.
true. And I'll say the third one, the number one of those, I'll add a third one is that love is all.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, even Christians get down into dividing it in categorizing love.
I
You've
see
got
your cat.
agape
Oh,
love and all these other what?
I saw your cat.
Yes, that's Willow. That's my
Hmm.
Willy boy. He only weighs 30 pounds.
Oh my Lord.
He's half Maine Coon.
Oh, okay. Those big cats, no wonder.
Oh, he's been sleeping here at the foot of the bed all this whole time. He's my constant, he's my familiar.
I saw him come over there.
He never leaves me. He's always here. Unless yeah, he leaves me when he has to go do his due, but
That's true. That's
we all
true.
do that.
So now, Katie, what are we going to do moving forward?
So, do you guys want to know more? There's so much. Oh my
There's
goodness.
52 books in there.
This thing is full. There's Philip. We could talk about the Book of Judas since that's the most recent one that was found. That
Man,
is one.
I'd like to talk about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, and you know what? The other one is the Sophia of Jesus Christ. So there's the Sophia as the creatrix, to think of God as the divine feminine creator, because it would make sense. Women bring life,
Yes.
they create. All right,
Yes.
so what is the book we're gonna do next?
Oh wow. I'm looking at there's so much. Thunder. The Revelation of Adam.
So let's
That's
do
a
Mary
really good
Magdalene
one.
next.
Hmm?
Let's do Mary Magdalene next, because so many
That
people already
sounds
know
good
about
to
her.
me because I really love talking about the divine feminine and how
Okay.
it is really she's I feel her so strong
Well,
and
that's
I'm not
why sometimes I
afraid.
always go to my Kuan Yin deck, because when I really want that divine feminine nurturing, I will go to where's the book at in here? I'm trying to find it.
Let me see. You have the contents, but the contents are really confusing. Mary Magdalene. I thought it was towards the front. Book of James. The nature of the rules. The origin of the world. There's so much in here. They left out a lot. We could talk about the Essenes as well.
That's true. That's a whole different thing.
They were a lot involved in the different parts of this, though. That's where a lot of the 3 part comes from, because they lived by 3 concepts. And that's that all humans were number one was all humans are dirty.
All humans are dirty.
Yes.
Well, people can't be.
They were constantly always trying to purify themselves. Constantly.
Just doing too much.
Yeah. The sentence. Okay, I'm looking. Where are you, Mary?
Okay, so what do I can't find in my thing here.
It's here.
All right. So we're gonna do the Gospel of Mary next. We'll let
Yes.
you know.
Yes, we will definitely do that next. And I'm thinking, because of the holidays and everybody being busy, do you want to wait until after the first of the year?
I think so. I think that's perfect.
I think that's a great idea too. So many people, we'll get more people to be able to be with us as well.
All right. We'll do it on a Tuesday. We'll let you know.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the good conversation in the
Yes, you guys.
the chat.
Yeah. You
What's
guys.
the chapter, y'all? Yeah, we're gonna try to get the Gospel of Mary. I don't know why I
Yes.
don't see it in here.
It's here. I know it's in here.
Okay.
It's this book, the way it's laid out is really, and my book is not loved or anything.
I know
Kind of hard
exactly.
to read in certain
Exactly. I got my book over here.
It's
All
not,
right,
not
ma'am.
yet. I've never opened it or used it or.
Want to close this out with a blessing?
Yes.
You.
Okay, me, everybody, what I want to do, I want to show you how to pray and manifest at the same time. Get all comfortable. Close your eyes. Now, if we were outside, I'd tell you to take your shoes off. Put your feet in the dirt. Just feel the air around you. What is it that you're desiring? Focus on it. What is it that you need the most? Is it that relationship? Is it a fortune of money? Is it a new home? Whatever it is that you desire, feel it as though you have it. You're living it. You have that perfect love in your life, that relationship that you're looking for, that perfect amount of money so that you have enough to give freely. For when giving freely, you receive as well. Feel it with every single one of your senses. Can you taste what it would be like to have that happiness? Can you smell it? Can you feel it? Can you hear it? You want a child in your life? Can you hear that child giggling and laughing and praying? These are what make you manifest. This is how your prayers are answered. Now you believe. You know what it feels like to have it. It's yours. Now, I seal this prayer in trust, faith, and truth. Al Alam Al Amin. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next
See you
time.
next year.
Bye-bye now.